The first time I ever heard about or thought about sharing a personal testimony was when I volunteered for Net Ministries. This is a big component of the ministry that Net does, and every retreat, several of the team members will get up front and share their personal testimony. And when we're in host families, we are encouraged to find opportunities to share our testimony. When we're at the gas station, we're sharing our personal testimony, because this is kind of a uh, irrefutable example of what the Lord can do. We can argue all sorts of things and doctrines, and you should and shouldn't do this or that or the other thing, but it's hard to argue when somebody says, "This is what Jesus did in my life." You might not care that much. You might not think he can do it in your life, but you can't really say, "No, he didn't. He didn't do that in your life." So we were encouraged in the very beginning to come up with our testimony. We call it the 3-minute testimony, uh, and and that was just something brief, something short that we can share anytime, anywhere, and we know it like the back of our hand, because it's part of our lived experience of our faith. Really, we should all have a 3-minute personal testimony. We should have multiple 3-minute testimonies. There's all sorts of things that the Lord has done in each of our lives that we can share. I think one of the intimidation factors is that we never know how to start that conversation. We hear the word evangelization, we freak out a little bit, but we evangelize all the time in all sorts of things. You get a new car and you love it, and you tell everybody else in the world to buy the same car. You watch a certain TV show and you start telling everybody that this is the best TV show ever, and you got to watch it. Or a certain restaurant, or a certain type of food, or a certain friend. We love to share those things that have impacted us. Well, one of the problems might be that we don't know, or we don't think about that moment or those times when we have been impacted, that the Lord has done something. Now, I think there's a whole lot of people, a whole lot of Christians, a whole lot of Catholics sitting in the pews who show up, and that's good. But when you ask them their personal witness testimony, they don't have one, because they really haven't had a deep encounter with Christ. And maybe it's you who needs to share your testimony, and that will help them have their own connection with Christ, to give them their own testimony to share. So for those of you who do, you're walking with the Lord, you have a relationship with him. Well, what's the testimony? What was the moment? What was the journey? That's what we want to share.